How's it going out there, boys and girls, today in Sporting Land? I just want to jump in here real quick and try to do a live stream today. We're going to try to test this thing out. Me and Jonathan Lewis, my podcast partner, he's on the other end taking care of some of the back end stuff. But been having a lot of stuff going on here during the off season. But we're going to give people a time to jump up in here, wait a few minutes. But basically, it's like it seems like it's a Royal Rumble of sorts. Because ever since Saban made his remarks, you've had coach after coach coming out, speaking out. First of all, it was Jimbo and Dion, of course, because that was the first two people he talked about. And we all know what Jimbo did. He caused them a little press conference and basically had a meltdown when he could have just said, hey, I don't really agree with what Nick Saban said, and Nick Saban needs to worry about coaching Alabama. Could have left it at that, but he didn't. We all know what he said and what he did. Basically, made himself look like a big old hypocrite. Even said he wanted to slap Saban. So, I don't know. I just wanted to jump in here real quick and see what you guys and gals had to say about all this hullabaloo that's going on, because now you got Lane Kiffin joining the mix. We all know how Lane Kiffin is. He's a big-time shit stirrer. Old Lane knows how to press those buttons, don't he? And then we got Kirby Smart even said, I think he did anyway. I haven't really seen a quote from Kirby. But from what I hear from people, Kirby's come out in defense of Saban as well as Chris Fowler. And now, the King. That's right, the King. How's it going? I Am Sooner. I Am Sooner is in the house. He's one of our regulars of the Common Joes and Salads in the Know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Yeah, but what I was saying is the originator to me of smack talk amongst coaches is the old ball coach, old Steve Spurrier. You know, he used to make the little comments about Free Shoes University, FSU, Florida State, Bobby Bowden. He used to prod the hell out of that old man. Surprised he didn't make that man uh, lose his bowels a little bit. I mean, old Bobby Bowden used to get riled up on Steve Spurrier. But Steve Spurrier even come in to the defense of Saban. And we all know in the past that Steve Spurrier has not really been a huge fan of Saban. So for him to come in and actually take up for Saban is a big deal as well. Now, for the Sooner people out there, I was going to do a podcast today. I am probably still going to do one day. It's related to the Oklahoma Sooners, as once again, Brent Venables has showed his prowess in recruiting as far as across the board and even-handed. Everybody thought he might have an issue with getting offensive players, but he got yet another good offensive player the other day in quarterback General Booty. Probably the best name in college football going today. General Booty. And no, that's not a nickname, class. That's actually his name, General Booty. So, General Booty, they interviewed him, and he basically said some of the same things that everybody's saying. It's amazing how everybody's in harmony in their feelings and sentiments towards Brent Venables. They said that he was amazed by how the guy's energy level was. He said there was not a second of wasted energy with this guy, and that the 2 days he spent with him was just nonstop energy. And the way he spoke to his players and how he spoke energy into everybody, just the way he speaks in itself, he said, was just genuine, unadulterated energy coming from Brent Venables. So once again, this ain't just coming from me and the Oklahoma fans. This is coming from all the recruits that have visited. And like I said, they thought Brent Venables would be the one having struggles in recruiting. And it seems to me that the only thing saving old Linky boy, old Tebow, out there in USC is the transfer portal. Shane M. 1980. Can we be honest? All big successful programs cheat. Always have, always will. And that is truer words spoken that I could speak myself, Shane. It is Shane, right? Yep. Shane, that's what I've been saying all along. is there's no reason for Saban to get aggravated. There's no reason for uh, Jimbo to get on there losing his noodle and wetting his diapers and hell, he might have even lost his bowels, man. I mean, because the dude was on there. I mean, you can tell by the way people act and the way they look and the way they speak sometimes by their body language. And Jimbo comes across as that crooked ass preacher, one of those Joe Osteen types to me. That he preaches a good game, but he's like that Saturday night drunk, Sunday morning preacher kind of deal. We want booty. That's right. We want booty. That's going to be a hell of a chant, right? I guess when Dylan Gabriel starts messing up a little bit, hopefully you Sooners won't start doing to him what you've done to Spencer Rattler. We all started chanting, "We want Caleb," but hell, I don't know if I could resist either. I mean, that's a hell of a chant. We want booty. We want booty. And hell, the women can't even get insulted by it because it's actually the guy's last name, right? And what I didn't know, and I sort of figured because it's such a unique name, and I'm having to look here closely because my camera's way back here, but it says 12:32 p.m. Sunday, May 21st, and then Texas still isn't back, and that's a fact, Jack. They set all kinds of records for futility last year. I hate that for Steve Sarkisian because, and I sort of like Steve. He's a decent guy. He just had some troubles. He went through a divorce and had some alcoholism and stuff, and went to the Saban car wash, and now he's supposedly clean. Saban car wash does that for a lot of people. Have you ever noticed that only one assistant of Saban's that was his assistant from the very start has actually been successful, and that's Kirby Smart. Most of these guys have already been head coaches that come in and go through the Saban car wash that end up being successful. So I guess we'll see what old Sark does. And we have Jason Brickman. Alabama is going to wipe the field with Texas A&M. Man, oh man, I hope you're right about that because last year, my podcast partner Jonathan Lewis was telling me that there was a stat that Marcus Wiley or somebody from ESPN brought up that every time someone talks shit to Saban, the next time they play, Saban hands them their ass. But Jimbo's already bucked that trend somewhat because last year Jimbo said that we're going to kick his ass, and Saban, kiddingly said what in golf when he was asked about it in an interview, and then Jimbo beat our ass. So he actually followed through on that. So Saban's going to step up to the plate this year and go ahead and put Jimbo in his place before he. I don't know about Jimbo, man. It's like he's one of those politicians that's stuck in the 70s and 80s and don't realize social media has pulled the curtain back. The curtain's been pulled back, man. And you really didn't do anything extraordinarily wrong, Jimbo. The only thing you're really doing wrong now is not owning that shit. I mean, just go ahead and own it. It's just like everybody knows wrestling's fake. We all know it's fake, but it's entertainment. And people that make fun of people watching wrestling, by the way, are pretty stupid because they watch movies. I mean, we all know Rocky didn't really win the world championship in boxing, right? We all know Tom Cruise didn't win the Daytona 500 on Days of Thunder, but yet we watch it. Jay Jones. BB builds men, just not football players. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good statement. That's a good motto. That's something that maybe y'all should use. We build men, we build character first, football players second. That is Oklahoma football. Going here toward forward with one Brent Venables. Boomer Sooner Champ U. Champ U of what? The Big 12? Yeah, y'all are the champ of Big 12. And that's what's been carrying the Big 12 the whole time. Texas, to some degree, was, carrying the conference as well a little bit in the early 2000s. But for the most part, it's been all Oklahoma shouldering the burden of the Big 12. Now, people say, well, what about Baylor and Oklahoma State? They done good last year. Yeah, they did good. But Baylor and Oklahoma State are two programs that'll have a 3 to 5 year period where they're really good, and then they'll just fall off the map for 3 or 4 years. That's called inconsistency. And Oklahoma hasn't been really inconsistent. And like I said, with Lincoln Riley, he was gifted a championship program, a conference championship program, and he didn't do anything with it but stay status quo. And I think actually, all these people talking about Brent Venables having issues with recruiting is actually more slanted to me towards Lincoln Riley, because while he has got one or two good defensive recruits, his defensive recruiting hasn't really been even keel. And that's the problem, see. He's not going to be even keel in his recruiting, and he's going to get out to Southern Cal, and they're going to give up 62 points to UCLA again or some shit like that. And I think Brent Venables is going to be a little more even keel in offensive and defensive recruiting. And I think is what will get him over in the long-term big picture. Now, Oklahoma, or not Oklahoma, but USC this year may come out and have a decent year the first year because they got all these transfer portal players that probably saved his ass. But without those transfer portal players, they probably would have went 5-7 again, to be honest with you. But with those players that he got, it'll probably take him to about a 9-3 season. But he's not going to go undefeated like people think he is. Patrick McKeever says, "Roll Tide." That's right. I can't wait till kickoff opening day. Opening day, I think it's Utah State, right, Patrick, for Alabama? I don't know if we've ever played Utah State. But what we should have done was played Utah. Hey, drop that state shit, man. We should have played Utah in the first game of the year, man. We own for that damn Sugar Bowl. I'd never been to the Sugar Bowl. My first trip to the Sugar Bowl, we lost to freaking Utah, man. I'd like to get revenge on their asses. Having to scoot up this camera to read this stuff because it's really small. So I apologize if y'all see my ugly face. So will the Horns. Down sign and Bama game. Yeah, 15-yard penalty or just the Big 12. Oh, Horns down. Horns down. Well, since this is an intra-conference game, I don't think that should apply. Do you, Jay? If it is, that's some straight up horse shit. And Texas should be ashamed of themselves for allowing Tom Herman or whoever it was that was responsible for filing a complaint about that. How are you going to control? You can control the players because you can throw penalties, but how are you going to control adults in the stands throwing down the horn sign? All you did when you done that, and it's like a lot of things, is when you call attention to something, you have to think yourself before you do it. And that's what a lot of people have a problem with, like Jimbo Fisher. Think about it for a little while. Just think about it before you do it. And once you give yourself a little time to calm down, then go and make a statement, right? JD Wilmoth is in the house. He's one of our regulars. He's like, I hope somebody changed Jimbo's diaper by now if he's going to have a really bad rash. And this is true. If you go around crying and wet your diaper long enough, Jimbo, and don't do something about it that's constructive, like when you have a baby, if he's crying, and change his diaper and rashed up, it's probably because you allowed him to cry too long. And that's Jimbo. Is Texas A&M, the Aggies need to get their shit together and get with Jimbo and say, hey, look, man, you need to stop crying like this, man. You're being paid. I don't know how much he's being paid. I know he's getting paid a lot. The exact figures, I don't know. Probably somewhere upwards close to $100 million for 10 years or some shit. And Kuz's Corner with a $4.99 donation. I appreciate that. That's Kuz's Corner. Need to check him out. It's a great podcast. He's a West Virginia guy. Does a lot of West Virginia stuff, but he also does a variety of college football and basketball as well. I appreciate the donation there, Justin. What is your little catchphrase again? West Virginia by the grace of God or something? Throw that out there for me. I'd like to hear that little catchphrase from Kuz's Corner. He also provides us with college football knowledge. And what is it? A shot? It is a shot of college football knowledge. Something like that. Yeah. Throw that catchphrase out there for us, Kuz. It's pretty catchy. But Jimbo Fisher, man, when I first saw that video, or when I saw the headline, I thought, oh shit, man, I'm gonna have to grill Saban again to show I'm unbiased. But I got to watching the video, and I'm just like, because people were saying he was saying that Jimbo and Deion were cheating, and I watched the video, and I didn't hear that word not one single time. Not one time did I hear Nick Saban say the word cheat or cheating or any variation of the word cheat. All he said was what was going on. Jimbo's boosters and whatnot put together a deal called a collective, which to me is a nice way of saying they funneled money and skirted the rules and found a loophole, which Saban should know a lot about that because they've had to make rules to curb Saban's recruiting prowess because he was recruiting 365 days a year, and these coaches couldn't get a break. They couldn't go on vacation because they were worried about Saban out recruiting them. So they've had to put many, many, many rules in place about recruiting because Saban is the king of finding the loophole, so he knows. So when he speaks about you finding a loophole, that's actually a compliment. So, and you should have sat back and listened, and you should have took the phone call from Saban, just like I said in my last podcast, because if you're just taking that phone call, he probably could explain to you, look, man, I didn't say you was cheating. I was just stating what happened. But the thing with Jimbo is he don't want you doing that. For some reason, he has this oblivious thing about him. He thinks since he beat Alabama one time, that means now he's King Dingling or something. I don't know. But he should have listened to the video because, like I said, he didn't say anything about cheating. All he said was that we need to have some. This is not sustainable, and we need to have some kind of rules in place. We need to have some regulations. That's all he was really saying, and all that got lost in the media frenzy. And for those people out there that really hate Nick Saban in Alabama, they may not admit it, but a lot of it had to do with, hey, we're going to take this and run with it. And they really didn't do a lot of investigating. Now a lot of people have egg on their face, and now you got big names coming out like Lane Kiffin, Chris Fowler, and now Steve Spurrier, basically outing Jimbo and calling him what we've been calling him the whole time. And that's a big old crybaby wetting his damn diapers, man. Well, who we got here? We got Kuz's Corner again. Do you like the idea of teams being able to sign more than 25 players in a single class? Well, if I'm not mistaken, they were already sort of doing that, Kuz, Justin. I know many years that Alabama had 32 in a class, as did Florida and Georgia. What they would do is something called gray shirt. They'd go ahead and get them in the class and then give them a scholarship down the road is what they would do. They'd do the gray shirt thing. But if you can sign more than 25 and you're limited to 85, won't that basically screw you somewhere down the road? Like 3 or 4 years down the road, you won't have but 12 or 13 scholarships to give in a year? I guess you have to pick your poison and decide whether the recruiting class is worth spending all of your allotment of 85. I mean, how's that 85 thing work? I'm not sure. Like I said, I apologize for getting up here, but my thing here is small. First time I've done a live stream. Well, actually, I've done one before, but it was a test run. This one's sort of a test run, too. I'm all for players getting paid but it's put all monies into a fund and divide it equally. That way it's not used wrong, says Patrick McKeever. That is a excellent idea, Patrick, and I've sort of mentioned something like that before. Um, I think it's just like Saban was saying, and once again, all they were saying was, "Hey, we need some regulations. We need some kind of help for these players to help them manage this money because hell, I'm almost a 50-year-old man, and I have problems managing my money sometimes. I think these players need to take some kind of financial class as well as have good legal representation, agents that maybe Saban or Greg Sankey, someone that Greg Sankey has filled out. Let Greg Sankey have something to do. I mean, I'm sure he's other than babysitting people and muzzling them. By the way, that's sort of cheesy, Greg, that you muzzled Lane Kiffin and told him he couldn't do an interview and get his take on the Saban situation with Jimbo. I thought that was pretty cheesy. But they need to have some kind of regulations. They need to have some kind of help for these kids so they don't get um, end up getting hemmed in by some unscrupulous agent or some relative that doesn't have their best interests at heart, because relatives are the worst sometimes. Um, 50 conference titles. Yes, that is true. The Sooners do have 50 conference titles, which is pretty damn good. Not to mention that Oklahoma does, in fact, own the longest winning streak in college football history at 47 in Division One. Anyway, I ain't gonna be talking about Augustana of South Dakota or any shit like that. So, Joey Porter, howdy everyone. Joey's a pretty good guy too. I think he's like somewhat the producer of the Golden Blue Dude channel. Y'all check that out. It's a pretty good channel as well. They're going to have a live stream, I think, in June sometimes. Joey could probably tell you more about that. They're going to have a multi live stream. I think it's going to be about 7 or 8 hours worth of college football in June sometimes. I can't remember the date on that, but Joey could probably tell y'all. Y'all can join in on that if you want to. It's going to be just an all-day thing, college football, for those of us that are theming for some college football. By the way, Joey, once again, put it in the comments section on your community section of Golden Blue Dude that said you was having some issues with somebody. If you need some help with that, just let me know, and we'll try to get this situation corrected with that certain individual. But I think about covered everything on here. What do you guys and gals think about Steve Spurrier coming out and basically saying that Jimbo's a jackass? I'll start calling him Jimmy Bo P, because I really seriously think he probably pissed himself when he first heard that shit. Um, Greg Sankey. Greg Sankey told Lane Kiffin that he could not do an interview with ESPN about the Saban and Jimbo situation. I know the idea behind it's probably to quell this stuff. It's like kids in an elementary school class when they get in a fight or whatnot, and you got little kids trying to antagonize them to fight again. That's sort of like what's going on here to Greg Sankey. In a way, it is, but in a way, these are grown men. Let them speak, let them talk, and let them uh, iron this out themselves to some degree. But it's like a fine line there, so I can't really be too mad at Greg. But I'm just saying that for the most part, I think Greg should have let Lane talk. Would have been quiet, entertaining. But like I said, I can see Greg's point of view. You don't want to keep this shit stirred up all the way up into media days, because then you can have a full on brawl up in there, man. You had some Royal Rumble shit going on. Y'all know what that is. All the wrestling fans out there. David Wood says, I predict OU will beat Clemson if they play. When BV went to Clemson to beat OU right away. Yeah, he did. BV, he was at Oklahoma for quite some time. What was he there? About 9 seasons, 10 seasons. And so he knows a lot about both programs. The thing with Brent Venables is he's been tutored under a variety of coaches that are big in the business. Coaches have been quite successful. You know, he started out at Kansas State under Bill Snyder. Bill Snyder, to me, has more respect to me than Nick Saban because of the program he took over. A lot of people don't realize this, but Kansas State was one of the losingest programs of all time until Bill Snyder took over. They were averaging like 2 or 3 wins a season. They had the worst winning percentage of all divisions. But of course, that's changed now since the arrival of Bill Snyder. He's gone now, but Bill Snyder done more with less, more so than any other coach out there. And Brent Venables learned that from Bill Snyder. Then he coached under Bob Stoops, who won a national championship. I think Kansas State won a conference title, but he won a national championship with Bob Stoops, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was there. And then he won 2 national championships with Dabo Swinney. So that's 2 of the most successful coaches of this century that he's been under for almost 20 years. And you can't be around that kind of success and it not rub off on you. Joey Foster says June 24th, 8 hours live stream with a lot of guests from coaches and players to even Joe Manchin. Senator Joe Manchin. That should be interesting. You know, I had an issue with Saban. Now, the only issue I have with Saban is his politics and his placating, his patronizing of certain organizations that he does no education on. He marched with the BLM for doing education. I got a lot of flack from that because people automatically call you a racist if you don't agree with the BLM. But come to find out, Saban didn't do no education on it, neither did Najee Harris, and they marched with that logo out here on our campus just because it had the word black in it. They can say what they want, but they didn't do their education. Now to come to find out, you know, the BLM is been found out to be misusing funds and funneling money and buying $4 million houses and not putting the money back into the minority communities. They also, most importantly, have been implicated in sex trafficking. So why would you support something like that? You know, that's honest. And then he tried to pressure Senator Manchin into signing some bill that would allow people to vote without an ID, basically. And it's just my opinion that Saban does some of that stuff with the whole Democratic thing. And I'm not Democrat or Republican, by the way. I'm independent. So don't be labeling me as a Trumpster or a liberal or whatever, because I'm neither. But I don't like Nick Saban using his glory and his fame that he acquired from the University of Alabama to try to pressure people into pushing his political agendas, which are not really his political agendas. I think Saban does a lot of that because he thinks it helps him with recruiting with the minority parents. He needs to stop that shit. That's being disingenuous. He needs to be upfront and just do things the right way when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm not going to get off that subject because that's a lot of political bullshit that I shouldn't even be talking about. NIL deals need rules across the board instead of each state's different laws. That's correct. Because all it does is confusion and it gets people in trouble when they don't even know they're doing anything wrong. If you got different set of rules in each state. Sort of like the gun laws in America. You got different rules in each state about the guns, about gun laws. There should be an across the board gun law that everybody should go by. That gets screwed up by a lot of the liberals up there in New York and California because they want all these strict ass gun laws. Once again, I'm getting on a political thing here, but since I spoke on it, my opinion is that, you know, it's not really the gun that kills, it's the person that's behind the gun. Because people, they're going to find a way to do screwed up shit if they want to. They don't have to have a gun. They can go in a supermarket with a knife and kill. Like, they can't kill as many people, but they could always drive a car into a crowd. You know, there's always going to be screwed up shit going on. You can't stop it by punishing innocent people that own guns that haven't done anything wrong. my opinion. Well, I found out Fisher said he didn't break any rules and doesn't understand or takes a part in it. Well, Jimbo Fisher is a liar. And since he wants somebody to call him a cheater, I'll call him that too. He's a cheater. Um, Jimbo don't understand. He understands. And Jimbo he's been an unscrupulous, shady ass character for quite some time. When he was at Florida State, he helped cover up that rape with Jameis Winston. You're like, well, how do you know that, JPC? How can you say that about Jameis? You ain't got no proof. Well, everybody has to make their own judgment. And my judgment's based on the fact that after it happened, 3 or 4 of his friends had recorded the whole situation. And for some reason, they all destroyed their phones. So you tell me what you think about that. If somebody's not guilty, why would they destroy 3 or 4 cell phones? And Jimbo Fisher and the Florida State administration covered that up. And I haven't been a fan of Jimbo since. He's shady, and you don't want to admit it. I mean, you can tell. I learned this in the police academy a long time ago, that if someone is talking extremely fast and looking all around, I mean, you ever seen him sometimes he's talking, man, he's just like, his eyes are everywhere, except right here. Very rarely does he look you in the eye. And he's talking extremely fast or stuttering or something, which is, not always, but most of the time, someone's talking that fast and stuttering all the time. They got something going on, man. They're hiding something. They got some issues, man. They got some real issues. Red-eyed Jedi says boom. I say sooner. That's a little thing. Say boomer. They say boomer to you, you gotta say sooner back to them, even if your horn's down. What you got here? Rhino 26, great video and great content. I appreciate it, Rhino. I tell you what, brother, anytime y'all want a topic done, and I've told this to a lot of people, and they've actually made use of it, all you got to do is send me a message on YouTube or send a comment, make a suggestion. I'll do a video on it if I can, or if I think it's a good topic, and I'll make sure I give you full credit, of course. I've even had people send me a message on Facebook. By the way, my Facebook is Jesse Paul Clark. Y'all can look me up on Facebook and add me as a friend if you want to, and you can get in touch with me through Messenger on there, probably just as good as you can on YouTube. JD Wilmoth, once again, I apologize for having to get so close to the camera, but it is what it is for now until I get my own setup. Sorry, but I'm going to have to run. Turn you off. I'll have to watch your recorded version of this later. It's time to watch my Sooner softball team put a beat down on Texas A&M. I got to represent. That's true. You got to represent, brother. You got to support your team. I'm not a big baseball or softball fan myself, but I must admit I do like college baseball. For some reason, to me, professional sports to me are just not as enthralling and they're just not as fun, man. Have you ever noticed that at college football games, people seem more energetic and more enthusiastic and more happy to be there? Just my opinion. I've gotten to where here lately I don't really go to a lot of ball games. I'd rather just go to Buffalo Wild Wings or sit at home because you never know who's going to be sitting in front of you or behind you. And you get up and go to the bathroom a lot easier, and probably the food's better at home. Woo! We got Killer Breeze into his house. Oh, Killer Breeze. Oh, George. And got me some good ideas. Oh, George has been here from the get-go. I can't pronounce his last name yet, but George has been here from the start. And we both root for the same NFL team. So we do have that in common. Who dat? So, yeah. Got another comment here. Patrick McKeever once again. Amen. Saban should stick to football. And that's all I'm saying, Patrick. I'm not saying the man don't have a right to express his views and he don't have a right to be whatever political party he wants. All I'm saying is don't use my university or sports, college football. Don't use our sports to push your political agenda. It's just like the whole the thing with the kneeling. The kneeling before the flag and stuff. If y'all want to kneel and protest police brutality, well then don't do it during the football game. Don't do it while you're at work, because when the football players do that, they're basically doing it at their job. If you got an issue with police brutality, I have no issue with that. If you got an issue with that, then by all means, let's protest it. But do it where you're supposed to do it. Do it in a setting where you've maybe rented some space, or maybe go to a police station in the parking lot and you know protest there. Take it to the source. Don't clutter our leisure time with your political agendas. Cuz and Outlaw, do you guys agree that NIL is going to have to be federal law because states will just pass laws that are advantageous to their universities? Of course, I do agree with that. I'm like, I apologize for this shit, but we'll have to get a different setup. Might just have to hold the phone here in a second because I can't read these comments because it's so far away. But yeah, we just talked about that, Joey. They're going to have to pass something. That's just what Saban was saying. And that whole thing that people went and pissed their panties on. We're going to have some kind of regulation there. And all these relatives and these unscrupulous agents that say, oh, it's not fair to the players. They should be able to make whatever they make. They should be able to make whatever the market bears. No, that's not true. If you look at the NFL has rules. They have caps. They have rules against tampering. The tampering thing is really going to have to be addressed because everybody's doing it. At this point, it ain't even the FCS teams. It's teams in the lower part of the major conferences that are getting filched. Even Georgia, Alabama filched a wide receiver from them and Jermaine Burton. I think they need to go back to having that 1 year set out rule, Joey, where they set out for a full season. That would curb some of that, I think, if they lost a year of eligibility for transferring. But then they're going to go back to saying, well, coaches don't lose eligibility when they leave. They're adults, man. They've earned their way. These kids think they're supposed to get being paid. It's just like the athletes in the NFL, man. They make more than their coaches, and that's ass backwards, man. Your boss has earned his way into that role, and he should make more money than his employees or his the people that he's supervising. He should make more money than them. I just don't understand why people don't get that. It's a no-brainer. The players should not make more than the coaches ever, because once you start making more money than someone, and people can try to deny if they want, but once you start making more money than someone, you sort of lose a little bit of respect for them sometimes. Maybe not even lose respect, but you sort of think, hey, how do they tell me what to do, and I make more money than them? So, other than Georgia and Bama, who else could win the SEC? Says Red Eyed Jedi. By the way, love that name. Not sure what you're getting at with it, but it sounds cool as hell. Red Eyed Jedi. I like that. And let me get this camera straight for you guys and gals out there. Once again, like I said, I'm having a little trouble with this thing today, so I might just take it off of you for a second, and I'll address your question. Yeah, let's do that. All right. Now, besides Alabama and Georgia, who do I think could win the SEC? Hmm. Well, I know a lot of people are going to say Texas A&M because they basically bought them an NFL minor league franchise, right? Oh shit! Shouldn't have said that, boy. Jimbo's going to go have a press conference about the OCF now. Gonna be calling me out, talking about slapping my jowls. Oh, I think somebody should slap Saban. I can't believe you said that shit. Really? You gonna threaten to physically accost somebody? But anyway, getting back to what Red Eye asked, I actually think if you're gonna talk about a surprise team that could win it this year, I think Tennessee might be a team you need to keep an eye on. Tennessee seemed like they were making a lot of progress last year. I really didn't think much of Tennessee last year. I didn't really think they were going to do a lot, but they actually impressed me last year. They done a lot better than I thought they would. Um, their new coach, he's not really new. He's been in about 3 or 4 years. The former Oklahoma quarterback. What's his name again? His name escapes me right now. But anyway, I think Tennessee could be a surprise team if you want to come up with one to win the SEC this year. And I'm interested to see how Spencer Rattler is going to do at South Carolina. That'd be another wild card to keep an eye on as well. And if Kentucky can get their running back situation solved with the whole DUI situation that's going on right now with them, and they're starting running back, they may be in the mix as well. I've also been impressed with Arkansas and their new coach. Texas A&M is probably the captain obvious choice for most people, but with all the turmoil that's going around, the continuation of let's win one or two big games and then lose to Mississippi State at home kind of shit, it's going to be the stuff that's going to end up getting Jimbo's ass fired. Because by the way, Jimbo doesn't have a buyout, so that works both ways, Jimbo. All right, we got Bobby. Bobby streaming trash. Bobby streaming tech. Bobby streaming tech. Outlaw of college football. Good afternoon and roll tide, my friend. Roll tide back to you, brother. We've been on here for going on 42 minutes now. Probably fixing to get off here. Um, just wanted to come here and try this live stream thing out. I've never really done it before. I've done it one time before, but it was just one of those wild hair at my ass kind of things. And I'll be honest with you, this one's probably a little wild hair at my ass too. So trying to get this camera straight so y'all can get that football effect. And we got Rick Birdwell. These coaches running off at the mouth kind of adds a bunch of WWF to the college football. Woo! Says Rick Birdwell. Rick knows that I love that woo. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, Rick. I mean, it's got the tinge of a Royal Rumble, man. It's like, who's going to come in next? Just keep having people come in. At first, it's Jimbo Fisher coming in to waylay Saban. Then you got Deion Sanders talking his smack. By the way, Deion come out and said that, he sort of backtracked a little bit, but he still said he wanted to address Saban. Well, good for you, Deion. You want to address somebody. I'll never forget Deion pouring that water, things on Jim McCarver's head because Jim McCarver criticized him. And I've lost a lot of respect for Deion ever since that. Deion, to me, is a con man. I'll be honest with you. He gets these kids in a room and he uses his fame and glory, and he basically, to me, cons them into getting into something that they really shouldn't get into. He don't really give them all the facts, in my opinion, because you can go to Jackson State and be a star and play football and make it to the NFL, but you have more opportunities if you go to Ohio State or Alabama, Notre Dame, or Oklahoma. And he don't really tell them that. But anyway, guys, I think I'm about to get off of here. I've been on here almost 45 minutes. I just wanted to give this a test run. I appreciate you guys and gals coming in here commenting and all the ideas you've given me over the course of the last 6 months. And as I said, I posted it. We've reached the 1,500 plus milestone as far as subscribers. And look forward to keeping on. With that, class is now dismissed.